So today we're going to be talking about measurement, and there's lots of things around us that measure things. And I'm going to have a few examples, but there are more. These are just a few examples of tools that we use for measurement. Some of the first tools that we often use and we think about when we talk about measurement are rulers. Okay, so here I have a 12-inch ruler. You can see that this one starts with a 0 and a long line, and it goes all the way to a 12-inch line. Okay, now rulers look different. I want to show you these two rulers to start with. I'm actually going to take my computer and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so that you can see. I may have to adjust. Oh, perfect. Okay, so you can see that. Hopefully it's not too blurry. You can see this first line here is a long line, and then the 1 is a long line. So from there to there is 1 inch. I'm going to go ahead and connect those. Okay, a lot of times we'll say use a ruler, and we use it for what we call a straight edge, so our line will be straight. But in this case, we're actually measuring a 1-inch line. And the way you can tell the difference is sometimes you really can't tell the difference, but on this one, a lot of times if I'm just drawing a straight edge, I'm going to, it doesn't matter where I put my pencil and draw a line, I can just draw a line. But if I'm measuring it, I always have to start at the 0, all right, or that first long line. Now, if you measure with a ruler like this one, again, it doesn't have to be metal. It can be wood, it can be plastic, it can be many different things. But with this type of ruler, you can see my very first line here is a short line. When it's a short line, that tells you that really you have to start on the side of the ruler because this is just that first little bit of an inch. So an inch actually would start all the way to the edge of this one over to the long 1 line, okay? All right, now what's really neat is my pink ruler is 12 inches. So if I'm looking, I'm going to write this down as we talk, okay? So 12 inches, this is how much longer is, how long my pink ruler is. And then I have my metal one. Now my metal one, let me finish this first, 12 inches equal 1 foot. So if we want to know if something is, how long it is, if it's, let's say it's 2 feet, then it would be two of my pink rulers. If it's 3 feet, it would be 3 of my pink rulers. 4 feet would be 4 of my pink rulers. If I taped them all together, then that would measure it. Or I could mark it and then move it and then continue measuring. Now with my silver one, this one actually measures 24 inches. Now you're actually going to see that it measures to 23. But as you can see, it continues measuring, and oh, look here, there's that little line then. That tells me, if I counted all these up, see, here's my half mark. This would tell me, if I counted up each one of these little marks, that I would go all the way to the end here, and that would be a whole nother inch. Now, with this ruler, this size has all the way to the 16th. So at the very beginning of the ruler, you could see it says 16ths. So that means there's 16 little marks. Remember when we studied fractions, we talked about equal parts? Well, on this ruler, from this mark here all the way to the end, you are going to have 16 equal marks. So let's count it. 16 equal spaces. So like here's a space. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so the 16th one would be right over here on the edge, okay? On the other side, if I flip it around for you, you will see this side has only the 8ths. You see how a whole bunch of the little bitty ones are all gone? But again, it still doesn't start with a long mark, so you know that you would go to the edge. But we would measure 8ths, so this would be from the end or from 1 inch line to the next inch line, so from the end all the way over to the 1, or 1 to 2, or 2 to 3, or 3 to 4. There would only be 8 equal spaces. So let's look. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now we know this is inches on my little pink ruler here. I have inches. It actually tells me an inch. Sometimes they don't tell you. So you have to know the difference between inches and then on this side where it has a whole bunch of little ones. and this says centimeters. So each one of these is a centimeter. But if it didn't tell us, how would we know that? Well, when I was a little girl, in my second grade classroom, my teacher, her name was Mrs. Watkins, and she was a lot of fun. And she taught me, she read a book about an inchworm, and that this worm that we read about was an inch long. And I kept looking at it, and she said, isn't it close to something part of your body, like the length of some part of your hand? And I kept thinking and kept thinking. And finally, we figured out as a class that if you made your finger kind of crooked like this, that an inch would go from about this knuckle to this knuckle. So the top of this knuckle to the top of this knuckle. And if you put your finger right there on that inch, you can see it kind of is from, mine goes from like 1 to 2, or it goes from 5 to 6. It might be just a little bit longer, but for the most part, it's an inch. So that's how I can tell if it's inches or centimeters. I know that my finger is a lot like that inchworm. That worm was only from here to here, so only about that long. So that was about an inch. All right, so I know I digressed just a little bit. I got off topic, but I kind of wanted to tell you that's how you can remember inches. I also think it's kind of opposite of an inch is a really small word, but it's a really long space. And the centimeters is a really long word, but a really small space. So they're almost opposites there. But the finger thing helps me more, okay? And one of the extra credits for today is you are going to write down how you can remember inches versus centimeters, okay? So hopefully that will help you. Maybe your parents have something they can tell you and help you out. I think that would be kind of cool. All right, so another ruler I told you, I said this was my yardstick, this yellow one. Okay, and remember it goes all, let me find there we go. This is the side, this one has 36 inches. And this one has 24. So, if I have 24 inches, 24 inches equals how many feet? If 12 inches equal 1 foot, what's 12? Oops, excuse me. What's 12 plus 12? 2 plus 2 is 4. 1 plus 1 is 2, 24. So that means this is 2 feet. This is like 2 of my pink rulers, or it's 1 of my silver rulers. And then what if I took that 24 and I added 12 more? I'd get 36 inches. 4 plus 2 is 6. 2 plus 1 is 3. This is where I got 36 from. 36 inches. I also got 36 inches from my ruler, my big yardstick, my big yellow one. And I know 36 inches is a yard, okay? But that's also the same as 3 feet. Remember? 3 of my pink rulers. So 3 feet, this is the same thing as 1 yard. So that actually has 3 different measurements that's all the same. That's kind of cool too. All right? So we are going to work on talking about more measurement tools as well. So we've kind of did a little bit of information there. But other measurement tools, I'm sure you've seen these. Your mom uses these in the kitchen, right? I'm going to actually zoom it back out a little bit. There we go. So I have a 1 cup, I have a 2/3 cup, and I have a 1 cup, excuse me, a 1/2 cup, a 2/3, and a 1 cup. These are all tools that measure. I use these in the kitchen a lot. I use a cup of sugar or a cup of flour, 2/3 cup of something, usually flour, 1/2 cup of sugar or something like that, or brown sugar, or who knows. So lots of different things to measure. And what's really cool is they have fractions on them. And we've studied our fractions. And we know this is a half and this is a cup. So if I had 2 of these, if I had 1/2 and then another half, so if you think of like a circle, and I cut it, whoops, that's a bad mark. Let's try that one again. There we go, that's better. If I have a half and another half, I know that 2 halves make 1 whole. So 2 halves make 1 whole, all right? So I could I could fill this up with the sugar, I could pour it in here, I'd fill it up another 1/2 cup sugar, I could pour it in here, and it would go all the way to the top of my 1 cup. All right, same thing with 2/3. This is 2/3. If I had 1 more third, 2/3 and 1 more third, right? So if I have a circle, bear with me, this is close to being perfect here. We got a 1/3 and a 1/3 and a 1/3 of a circle. Remember our fractions? If we had 1/3 plus another third, this would be 2/3. But if we added one more third, we would have 3/3, wouldn't we? Very cool. All right. So we'll put those away. That's another measuring tool. Another measuring tool, I'm sure you've seen these at your house. You've seen your mom use these. Teaspoons and tablespoons. We use these to measure. We do that a lot with dry ingredients. Both of these types of tools are for dry ingredients in the kitchen. Then we have for wet ingredients. Sometimes we do use these for wet ingredients, and most of the time we use something that looks like this for wet ingredients. Okay, this one, it tells you on the side. I'll put my hand here so you can see it. Can you see that? Let me see if I can take a piece of paper. There we go, that's better. You can see on the side here, we've got 1/4 of a cup, 1/2 a cup, 3/4 a cup, and a cup. So if I would measure from here to here with water, and then I would put it into this 1 cup, it should be exactly the same, okay? And then on this side, just the thirds. What I love about this one is when you're looking down from above, like I set this on my counter, I can also see over here, here's my one, let me use a pencil, maybe you can see, here's my 1/4 of a mark, here's my line for 1/3, a half, 2/3, 3/4, 1 cup. So I would fill the liquid up to this point, and that would tell me exactly how much of that wet ingredients I have. So those are 2 more types of tools. And finally, I have 2 more types of tools I want to talk to you about. You've seen these probably. This is probably like your dad's. Maybe your mom has one. This one's actually mine. My dad gave this to me. I got tired of not knowing where any of Mr. Gross's tools were, so my dad made me a toolbox, and in it he put this. This is called a tape measure. So you measure it, and you can do these assignments even if you don't have a ruler with the tape measure. It's the same type of thing. Let me see if I can stop it. There we go. That won't slide in on me. And you can see if I go all the way to the end that my inches all match up. So you can use a tape measure if you do not have a ruler. Okay? And then finally, we have, this is a large thermometer, or you can have a small thermometer. These thermometers measure the warmth or how cold it is. So I'm going to try, I don't know if I can do this very well. Let me flip it around here so you can see it. You can see here's my spot at the bottom. Okay, now I'm hoping you can see this go up. Can you see? Let me try to turn it. There you go. You see where the red mark is? It's showing you right now that it's about 65 degrees in my house, which I guess it could be. I think it's a little bit warmer. I usually keep it about 68, but I'm going to try to warm it up. I'm going to put my fingers on this. Watch. I'll put my fingers on this to add my body heat to it, and I'm hoping, oh look, you can see it raising. Can you see it? See it going up? Oh, look, I hit 80. Oh, going past. Okay, looks like it's about stopped. So measuring with the thermometer, you can see this goes 20, 40, 60. So each really long line goes up by 2, doesn't it? So that's another reason that's important, that you can be able to count by 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and then this would be 10. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So what do you think this mark is? If 80's here and 100 is here, what's halfway between those? Excuse me, I moved my thermometer. What's halfway between those? 90, right. So I'm measuring with the heat of my body. This is measuring about 90, between 88 and 90 degrees. And you would count by 2's here. So this is the 80 mark. And it would go 82, 84, 86, 88, 90. 92, 94, 96, 98, 100. So my line is right here between 88 and 90. So I'm about 89. I'm giving that temperature. Now hopefully I'm going to let go. Let's see if we can watch it go down a little bit. It's not going down as much as I could. I could go put it in ice water and it'd go down pretty quick. We might try that later just for fun. So if you have a thermometer that you can use and measure with, that's important too. And we will talk more about thermometers at another time, hopefully, if we have some time. So, okay. So when we're measuring, we use our rulers. And so this week we're going to be using a lot of rulers. Please make sure that you can find some rulers. If you cannot, you can, like I said, you can use your dad's tape measure for this week's lesson.